this country is at war with Germany.
We had to do a job, and we did the job, and that was it.
The men had to go and fight, and the women had to take their place.
Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the Great Crusade.
So, hello and welcome back to another episode of Foxhole Chat. Today we're going to be discussing Hitler's DNA. So, back in November 2025, it was made public that a blood sample from the Führer bunker, had been tested and the results were made public. So let's backtrack slightly. So it's April 30th, 1945. Germany's lost miserably. Soviets are in Berlin. The rest of the Allies are on the way. So Eva Braun takes cyanide. Hitler also takes cyanide, but then shoots himself just to make sure. His butler, I think it was, takes out the bodies and sets them alight. So nobody can do anything with the bodies. A few hours later, Soviets get there first. They let in some Allied troops, including some Americans. One of them takes a cutting from a blood-stained sofa as a war trophy, takes it home. Fast forward 70 years, this bit of blood-stained sofa ends up in the hands of Eric Dorr, the curator of the Gettysburg History Museum. So he puts out a press release saying, I want to test this blood, it's from the Führer bunker. I want to prove Hitler died in the bunker and did not escape to anywhere. Didn't get any feedback. About a year later, a TV production company says, yep, we'll do it. Like, we're interested. So various setbacks, some of which we'll go into. Fast forward 8 years to November, and the results come out. TV show on Channel 4, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Called Hitler's DNA, Blueprint of a Dictator. There was 2 episodes. So what did they find?
Well, they found quite a lot, didn't they?
They certainly did.
They did. I mean, I've watched both the episodes of the Channel 4 documentary, and then last night I was catching up on live stream that Eric Dorr did with JD from the History Underground, an amazing YouTube channel. If you've not heard of it, I highly recommend going over there. So I was catching up on that live stream, which kind of gave more detail about the process and what Eric went through. So again, if this piques your interest, watch the documentary, then go watch that. And he basically talks through about what they found, more than the show does. So he shed light on the fact that they used the picture from Life magazine of the American GIs with the sofa in the background. They used that picture, like really high resolution images of that, as well as like other forensic techniques to determine like the splatter pattern of the blood on the sofa, to basically prove that it was from a gunshot. It wasn't staged. It wasn't this kind of weird plot that the Germans were, we'll get Hitler out of there, then we'll pour some of his blood on the sofa to make it look like he killed himself. So that forensic evidence kind of, again, is other evidence to disprove the theory that he escaped in a submarine and went to Argentina. But also, obviously, also kind of came out his like propensity for developing certain psychological conditions. And when I was watching it, some of them I was like, yeah, it tracks everything that came out. You're like, well, yeah, of course, he could have developed schizophrenia, and severe anger problems. The guy was a complete nutcase. If you're gonna invade the world and murder millions of people, of course you're gonna have a screw loose. But some of them I felt like the ADHD one and the autism one. I don't know, for me, obviously this is just my opinion and everyone's going to think differently about it. But for me, I kind of felt like, were they trying to shoehorn that in? Because nowadays it's a lot of it is everyone's kind of self-diagnoses. Oh, I've got ADHD, or I've got autism, or I'm autistic. Um, and yes, psychological testing isn't really readily available. Nobody can just go to the GP and say, I want to get tested for this. So of course, people are going to kind of look at patterns and Google things and so what, and think, oh, I might have that. So I thought, were they kind of, and that's why he was so scatterbrained of changing his mind on different things, and was he autistic, and that's why he was so obsessed about certain things and fixation on certain things. It was cool to see Eric Dorr at the beginning of the episode in the first episode of the Channel 4 documentary. Because I don't know about you, I was kind of like, oh wow, he's actually in it, and they actually like went there. I wish he was in it a bit more. And I was kind of hoping JD might have made an appearance, but unfortunately not. But it was I think it's worth a watch. And it gets people talking, and obviously, it did grab headlines with some of the other findings that they found. But yeah, what did you make of it? What did you think about it?
I thought the first episode was better than the second. The TV production company very much focused on like the medical side of him, sort of showing that he was a bit nuts, rather than what Eric Thor very much wanted to prove that Hitler died in the bunker. He didn't escape, and he didn't have Jewish blood, or did or didn't have Jewish blood. And there was a very small section of that on that historical bit, which is what we should have been focusing on. But the TV show did focus more on his medical side of things. So did he have ADHD, autism? Headlines that came out afterwards, I will pop them up on the screen if you're watching. If not, they will be on our Instagram. They were more concerned about physical features, rather than the historical point that we're trying to make here, that he did die in Berlin in the 1940s. He didn't escape, and he may or may not have Jewish blood. So understandably, the process took a little bit longer. I mean, COVID hit sort of smack bang in the middle of this, didn't it? So that didn't exactly help. But they approached a lot of European institutes to test this blood sample, and a lot of them said no. They weren't interested because of who it was, which is understandable, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no lab wants to say like, oh, what are we doing today? Oh, we're testing Hitler's blood.
Yeah. So they did manage to find somebody to test it, and the first initial test found that it was blood. It was male blood, and it was very old. So at least we know at that point it's original and it is blood stain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I've got this right, humans have 23 chromosomes, which is what they were testing for. So you get half from your mum, half from your dad. 1 to 22 of them are the same. So I'm guessing that might be, making sure you've got 5 fingers, 5 toes, 1 nose, and all of that stuff that humans have.
Yeah.
But the 23rd one is different, because that's the sex chromosome, whether you come out male or female.
Yeah.
And that's the one they were testing for. I think women, it's X chromosome, and men's Y chromosome. So they were testing for that Y chromosome to make sure it was male blood. So they found there's a Belgian journalist. I can't remember his name. I didn't write down his name. So sorry to the Belgian journalist. I can't remember your name. He's spent 15 years tracking down Hitler's relatives, as you do.
Why not?
Why would you not?
Yeah.
So he had a sample. Some of them weren't interested, were they? As you can again imagine that.
Yeah, nobody wants to that claim to fame. Because why would you? Because it comes with a prejudice and a stigma. So God bless him for wanting to research it and track them down. But it's a slippery slope for sure. Yeah.
So Hitler had a half brother during the war that lived in England. He then moved to America when it all started kicking off. He had one son, Willie Hitler, who actually
Yeah.
fought in the US Navy. I actually stumbled across a video the other day of him putting out a video basically disowning his uncle Adolf.
Oh wow. Okay. What was this during the war or is this after?
Yeah, no, during the war, I think.
Oh wow.
Because he obviously fought in the US Navy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was basically just disowning his uncle, saying he's got
Yeah.
no interest in him. So after the war, he changed his name and had 3 sons. I think it was from the son's DNA that they managed to match that this blood in the bunker was male and of the Hitler bloodline. So in 1945 in Berlin, there's only going to be one male Hitler relative in the bunker, isn't there, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There has to be, and there was, if I'm remembering correctly, in the show, it kind of touches on was it a French guy, like in the 60s and 70s, and he was trying to say, "Oh, I'm a descendant of Hitler," um, which was very bizarre. Like I didn't know about this at all. And thinking about it now, like that's strange. Like, why would you want to say, that you're related, to him? And in the show, it kind of focused a bit on that of them disproving that this guy wasn't a relative and proving that this blood was actually Hitler's. If that makes sense, it is a bit confusing. I says he is. So if he isn't a relative, if it doesn't match the blood sample from the swatch of the fabric, and that's what they proved. And
So yeah, after it was an 8-year process. That's a long time. I know there was a few issues along the way, but that's a very long time to get an answer. So they eventually got an exact match, and that's where all the myths and the medical side of things started kicking in. It's like, right, we know it's Hitler's blood, so clearly died in the bunker because it's his. And that's where they started going off on a bit of a tangent of basically saying he's nuts.
we've had the Channel 4 documentary, and then there's the American version apparently, because one of the geneticists, the American scientist, I can't remember her name. I do apologize. She's basically writing a paper. She's writing this all up in a paper, and I'd be interested to read some of that. I think it's going to be a mix of and medical stuff and the historical stuff maybe of this is indisputable proof that it is his, but here's what we've learned medically from it. So that would be quite interesting. But I think, unfortunately, I don't think it will stop the conspiracy theorists, because I think people who, and no disrespect to conspiracy theorists, as long as you're not hurting anyone, like if you want to believe that, fine, that's fine. You do you, um, But I think sometimes people who believe in conspiracy theories are very headstrong and very no, this is what I believe. It doesn't matter what Um, so unfortunately, I don't think it will stop all that. But us people in the history sphere, we can take that as gospel now. I mean, I always did. I remember first seeing um, a video about the Gettysburg Museum of History and seeing this swatch and thinking, oh my God, that's got to be up there as like one of the uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Most important historical artifacts ever, ever. I think, that would be up there. I'm not religious, but to some people that would be up there as like, the Turin Shroud or, something like that. Um, so yeah, I think it was good for us history nerds. But I don't think it's going to stop the people who believe other certain things.
No, and the media doesn't help in that. So the whole Hitler's got Jewish blood thing came from the media, I believe. So there was Hitler's grandmother used to work for a Jewish household and then supposedly got pregnant. So of course the media got wind of that. It's like, oh, Hitler's got Jewish blood, and it's like, no, that's not what we're saying. She just worked in a Jewish household, and the
Hmm.
media just just blew it completely out of proportion. And now we've managed to disprove that because we've managed to track various blood and family members that he is not Jewish. He does not have Jewish blood.
I think it was always going to be a bit of a stretch. I think just to prove again how much of a nutter he was. But again, yeah, that's I think that I was going to say that's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's been disproved because yeah, like you say, it's the media, so it kind of disproves this overhypeness that the media does, like with what you were saying with the more physical things that they might have found. His puberty and sexual development. The headlines, the media grabbed that, didn't they, first, and that's all people were focused on. And this big revelation that hey, it is his blood has kind of gone by the wayside, which is a bit sad. But I think if like you, if you've grown up in the UK and you kind of switched on, you understand that our media does that with everything. And clickbait nowadays is rife with everything really, whether it's history or anything really. So yes, the Jewish blood thing.
Some of the medical stuff we did already know because he was arrested in the early 20s, which is when he went on to write Mein Kampf. So when he got arrested, there was a medical report which then got later released. So we did already know that he had, was it an undescended testicle, I think?
Yes, yeah,
So as the being British, also made a song about that, which I will be putting in somewhere
yeah.
along the line. Not defending Hitler in the slightest, because that's almost seemed what the TV show was doing at one point.
Oh, really? Did you think?
Well, when it was going through all of his psychological things like ADHD, autism, so he's got
Mm,
all these problems wrong. So it was inevitable that he was going to go a bit nuts, and with his
yeah.
upbringing and everything. So
Mm.
he had a troubled childhood. I think all of his brothers and sisters, apart from one, died young. His father used to beat him. So just the upbringing and the psychological stuff was like, yeah, he's going to go slightly crackers on us.
Yeah, I think it was I think it's a combination of because again, don't mean to keep coming back to this live stream. But I think it was Eric that was saying that just because his DNA showed that he had the possibility of developing these psychological disorders doesn't necessarily mean people who have them nowadays are as bad as Hitler, which is very important. I'm very glad that he said that
Yeah,
because it's all the environmental factors as well. Because you look, like you said, about his upbringing, his dad, his siblings, dying. And then you look at the state of the world as well in that time, and him fighting in the First World War and going through all that. That must have been horrific, for everyone involved on both sides, as we know. And then the Great Depression and, all the things Germany went through after the war. And he was in the middle of that. So you've got to kind of put it into context of no wonder it was kind of like the perfect storm for someone like him. I remember in the documentary it says about his close friend, I can't remember his name unfortunately, about his relationship with Hitler. And basically saying that he was kind of just mediocre in everything he did pretty much. This perfect storm of him being a good speaker and being able to rile people up in this turmoil time of the 20s and 30s and 40s, which really, elevated him really above possibly where he would have been had all these things not happened in the world. Um, so I think we can't just take it, like you're saying, I don't think we can just take it on. You got to take it on historical, environmental as well, and put them all together so you get a big picture. I think that's the most important thing here.
yep. And as we knew, he was also a drug addict as well during the war, wasn't he? Amphetamines,
Yeah, well, it was
I think
all
they were.
sorts, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that didn't help. I mean, it probably helped him at the time, but
I mean, with the other thing that I can think is the bit that I found really interesting was the way I think it was in the second episode where they talk about the film reel that they showed literally right at the end of the war, and Hitler's like congratulating. Well, it's a mix really of old men and children as it was towards the end of the war in Germany and Berlin. Um, and it's him. He's got one hand behind his back, and he's shaking the hand, and it just looks very normal on the surface. And then they revealed that there was another angle that was shot behind him, and you can see his hand is shaking quite badly, and uh, it came out that they were thinking that it was all sorts of other barbiturates. Um, it was a combination of that, and he possibly it was early onset Parkinson's. Which I don't know if you've ever seen the Amazon series, The Man in the High Castle. So it's based on a book. It only ran for like 2 or 3 seasons. It's a really good series-ish. It ends a bit weird. It's a bit, I don't know, out there. It's like an alternate timeline of what if Germany and Japan won the war, and
Okay.
America's split in two. So Germany has the East Coast, so like Florida and Washington, and Japan has the West Coast, so like California, San Francisco, and that area. And in it basically, it shows like there's a scene where it's coming up to Hitler's birthday and he's still alive because it's set in the like 60s, I think. I want to say like yeah, 60s ish. And it shows like a scene where this guy is looking at television and Hitler's on it. And again, he's got his hand behind his back, and the guy makes a comment of, "Oh yeah, Herr Hitler, he's quite poorly. Like his Parkinson's has got really bad." Um, so I think that's been known for a while, and they used it in this TV show for a brief scene. So I thought that was quite interesting. That was an interesting scene. Um, but I think it's going to be interesting if we get to watch the American version, because us in America are very different of how we portray things and make things. Obviously, it's cultural differences. So hopefully we get to watch that. Yeah, I thought it was a very very interesting documentary, and worth a watch. And it's good for us history nerds. But yeah, there was we had some gripes, didn't we?
Yeah, they're just focusing on completely the wrong things. And what you were saying about the videos, that's just German propaganda at its finest, isn't it? Showing the world what you want to see
Yeah,
is like, yeah,
yeah,
Hitler's strong, he's still going. He's
yeah,
meeting the
yeah,
troops and everything, but actually in reality, he's really, really poorly.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and the American one, I think they said it was going to be on History Channel.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we might get that over here, possibly. So
Yeah.
you never
Well,
know, there
well,
might be a part two to this episode.
you have to make sure you subscribed to see if there is people.
Yes. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe.
Yeah, yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything there, haven't we? Yeah, if you are interested, obviously go on to Channel 4 and check it out. And yeah, check out the History Underground as well, not just for the live stream that I was talking about. JD do some really, really amazing stuff over there. And yeah, follow us on Instagram as well. Just Foxhole Chat. And check out our own channels as well. They'll be in the description. More Peak War Waffle will be coming at you from all angles on this channel and our own as well.
Certainly will. So on that note, we shall see you next week.